afternoon, everyone. This is Diksha Tiwari welcoming our wonderful panel and all the viewers who have joined us for this webinar on the future to peak performance, how high performance centers, performance analysis, and sports science is shaping up Indian sports for a better tomorrow. Being organized by the NTHA Hockey Academy, one of the high performance centers in Odisha, this webinar is a part of a series of such discussions centered around sports that the Academy has been hosting over the last few weeks. And without being biased, I can add these webinars have been extremely informative and full of wisdom with a galaxy of eminent experts as panelists. And today, of course, is no different. So over to this webinar, I think we all would agree to the fact that high performance centers stand to be one of the most successful models for sports management today. And if there's one state in India that has taken a lead in this direction, setting example for the rest to follow, that is Odisha. The state is not just called the sports hub of the country for the various national and international sporting tournaments that it has been hosting in recent times, but for also adopting a holistic sports approach for sports promotion and grassroots development under the dynamic leadership of the Honorable Chief Minister of Odisha, Shri Naveen Patnaik. The centers in various sporting disciplines and also in sports management and research have not only opened up new platforms and world-class opportunities for talents within the state, they have the potential to become the best training centers at a global level, given the corporate functioning style of the Department of Sports and Youth Services, Government of Odisha. And we are indeed grateful that today we have amidst us esteemed panelists who are a part of this incredible journey being scripted by these high performance centers in Odisha as well as across the country. So let me take the privilege to introduce them all to you. So we have with us Mr. Floris Bovelander. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the panel.
Happy to be here.
Yes. So a three-time Olympian with one gold medal, one bronze medal. He also has a gold and a silver medal at the Hockey World Cup. Tasted success at the Hockey European Championship with a gold medal and silver medal. After his hockey career, he has completed his biology studies but remained active in hockey. Among other things, he was a member of the top sport committee of Hockey Club Bovelander for 5 years. He also served as the Dutch national team manager and assistant trainer, founding partner of 1 million hockey legs. This project is an umbrella for a range of hockey-related events aiming to redevelop grassroots hockey. His company, Bovelander Hockey Academy, guides both NTHA Jamshedpur and Odisha as the technical partner of Hockey Ace Foundation. We'd like to also mention a bit about NTHA Odisha, which was launched in August 2019, a partnership in excellence between the Department of Sports and Youth Services, Government of Odisha, Tata Steel and Tata Trust. NTHA Odisha, after a good start with the inaugural girls program of 30 trainee cadets, is all set to induct 30 boys in the coming months. And the Hockey HPC already has 10 grassroots centers and 3 regional development centers that are operational in Sundargarh, Pamposh, and Sambalpur districts. So once again, welcome, Mr. Floris, to this wonderful panel.
Thank you.
Well, we have with us Mr. Kazem Panjavi, a former Olympian weightlifter, national record holder in Iran. He's also a World Master Game record holder and was awarded the best lifter in World Master Game 2005. He did his degree in sports, fitness administration and management from Tabiat Moderators University, has coached lifters to over 50 national medals in UK and Iran, and his lifters hold over 22 national records in youth, junior and senior levels in the UK. He coached the Great Britain team at European Youth 2003, European Senior 2004, Commonwealth Championship in 2004, European Under-23 Championship France 2006. He was also a tutor to Level 1 and Level 2 BWL certified weightlifting coaches. Would also like to mention about the Odisha Weightlifting HPC after its inauguration in February 2019, the Weightlifting Center of Excellence did its first scouting on March 2019 in the sports hostels with weightlifting students at Bhubaneswar and Berhampur, and they selected 24 lifters out of 83 for the program. 21 new beginner kids between 11 and 17 from 148 students across 6 districts school were later chosen to train at the facility. The HPC proudly bagged multiple medals in all state and national competitions and are right now focusing on performing at the international platform. So a warm welcome to you, Mr. Kazem.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, we have with us Mr. Ajit Marcos, a former athlete turned into coaching to follow his passion, software engineer by qualification and profession, who worked in different MNCs in various technical and management capacities. He earned his World Athletics Academy Coach Diploma and all levels of USA track and field coaching licenses from IMG Academy, Florida. He was part of the Indian team's coaching squad for Asian Games and Commonwealth Games. As a coach and performance manager, he's worked with Olympians and international athletes and coached them to numerous international medals. Before joining Reliance Foundation, he was a trustee and technical advisor of Anju Bobby Sports Foundation, was instrumental in setting up a high performance center for horizontal jumps. Would also like to mention about the Reliance Foundation Odisha Athletics HPC. This is again a collaborative effort of the Department of Sports and Youth Services, Government of Odisha, and the Reliance Foundation, which had signed a MOU in 2018 with an aim to improve the standard of athletics across the state. Currently, 9 athletes train here, with the number expected to reach 16 by the year end. While winning is a long-term goal, the HPC is currently focusing on the journey, the strategy, and the holistic development of a player. It also aims to implement a long-term athlete development framework, which will shape up well-rounded athletes for India. So welcome, Mr. Ajit. Moving on, I think we have with us Mr. Heath Matthews, graduated with a BSc Honours in Physiotherapy from the University of Cape Town, has worked as a sports physiotherapist for over 15 years, began as a team physiotherapist for professional rugby, soccer, athletics, and cycling teams in South Africa before moving to the professional tennis circuit, where he worked on both the men's and women's tours for 2 years. He worked with multiple top 10 ranked players, and his work with top Indian players, Sania Mirza and Mahesh Bhupati, facilitated his transition into the position of Director of Performance for the Mittal Champions Trust. The subsequent years were spent managing the sports science and medicine program for 40 of India's top Olympic athletes in 8 Olympic sports, including athletics, archery, boxing, badminton, sailing, swimming, squash, shooting, and wrestling. During this time, he traveled with multiple national teams to the respective World Championship and other international competition. The highlight, of course, was the Beijing Olympics with the Indian team in 2008. Mr. Matthews was given an opportunity to head the Center for Sports Medicine at Kokilaben Dhirubhai Ambani Hospital in 2010. He was involved in development of the Center for Sports Medicine, as well as setting up the sports science and medicine programs, training staff, and consulting with sports people from grassroots level to professional athletes. So welcome, Mr. Heath, Head Sports Science and Medicine at HN Reliance Foundation Hospital and Research Institute. Warm welcome to you.
Thanks very much.
We have with us Mr. Rushdee Warley, graduated from University of Cape Town, followed that up with a sports business program at the University of Witwatersrand in South Africa. He's more than 20 years of experience in the sports industry. That includes coaching, leading the high performance program for swimming South Africa, working as a performance consultant for high performance sport New Zealand, and leading the 2012 Olympic Games campaign for the swimming team of New Zealand. In 1999 and 2000, he was awarded the Swimming South Africa Development Coach of the Year. Now working with the Inspire Institute of Sport, he hopes to ensure that under his guidance, India produces a steady set of world-class athletes. Of course, we'd like to mention about the Odisha JSW Swimming HPC that trains 15 swimmers in the age group of 12 to 18 years. All of them are training to achieve medals at the Junior Nationals by 2022 and eventually the Senior Nationals by 2024 or 25. Started in 2019, the long-term vision of the project is looking at swimmers in the program achieving A qualification times for the 2032 Olympics. The HPC also has an additional pre-competitive group comprising 18 swimmers that they manage with the support of coaches from the sports department to enhance the grassroots structure in Odisha swimming. So welcome, Mr. Warley, the CEO of Inspire Institute of Sport, Program Director, Odisha JSW Swimming HPC. A warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much.
We also have with us Dr. Digpal Singh Ranawat, Director, Abhinav Futuristics Private Limited and Abhinav Bindra Targeting Performance Center. Completed his Bachelor's of Physical Therapy from Manipal College of Allied Health Sciences. Completed his Doctor of Osteopathy from NUMSS. He's also a licensed Performance Enhancement Specialist and a Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist. He joined Abhinav Futuristics in 2016 and is now heading the Healthcare and Health Services Department, along with being the director of Abhinav Bindra Targeting Performance Center. He's been directly involved in setting up the ABTP centers across the country and overlooks the strategic expansion and sustainability of the organization. A regular speaker and panelist at the highest platform of sport in the country, as well as a member of the International Shooting Sports Federation Medical Committee. Would also like to mention about ABTP Odisha, which was launched in February 2019, collaboration of Department of Sports and Youth Services, Government of Odisha, Abhinav Futuristics Private Limited, and Rungta Mines. The center in Bhubaneswar is the biggest and most advanced in terms of comprehensive prehab and pre-rehab programs. It currently caters to young residents of the state hostels and national athletes free of cost. So welcome, Dr. Ranawat, to this wonderful panel.
Thank you.
All right, so before we move to the question and the discussion on the topic today, I would like to introduce my co-host, very wonderful co-host, Mr. Rajiv, Seth, Project Director, NTHA Odisha, again, a high performance center. So an ex-first class cricketer from Bengal and Odisha, the first batch trainee and product of MRF Pace Foundation, Madras, coached by legendary Dennis Lilly. He's played as a professional in English and Scottish Premier Division leagues, having completed his ACC, ACB Level 3 coaching education program. He's also coached Malaysian national cricket team in 2010, graduated from Hindu College, Delhi University, did his special management from IIM Kolkata, had a short stint with Jamshedpur FC in the inaugural year, handling the administration and operation at Jamshedpur. He's also served in various capacities within Tata Steel before, of course, his current position of Project Director, Naval Tata Hockey Academy, Odisha. And yes, I am Diksha Tiwari. Just a very short intro for myself as well. So I've been a journalist, an anchor, a moderator, an RJ, a communication consultant. And the best part is I'm very excited about this webinar because I'm also a part of one of the HPCs in Odisha, which is the XCBS Ahluwalia Center of Excellence in Sports Management. I've been heading the communication for the center since 2019 October. And I'm so happy and so excited to be a part of this webinar. So over to you, Mr. Rajiv, to take the discussion ahead. And I'll, of course, be pitching in with more questions from the audience as well.
Thank you, Diksha. Good afternoon, rather slipping into evening. Good evening, all. Diksha has said it all. And I'm glad that Diksha made this introduction and, introducing the esteemed panelist. I mean, the kind of luminaries we have on the panel today speaks volume of the kind of work which is going on in Odisha through all these high performance centers. As Diksha mentioned, this is a long journey, but I think Odisha has taken the lead, and we all acknowledge that pan India, and I think it's a pleasure for us to through this forum, through this platform, discuss all these initiatives in details and what brings up to this high performance center and what goes into it. And people see it as prima facie as high performance centers. These are nice flowery statements and captions, but I think what goes inside it and what it leads to is what we are here for. But I think I have a good news, and I think I'm glad that it happened on this day. I would treat it as a breaking news from the sports ministry in India today, that SAI has decided to recruit high performance center consultants, preferably foreigners. I don't have any bias, but this is something which is written. Main role will be to drive, support, manage sports development initiatives and performance goals for 2024-2028 Olympics. Besides that, they will recruit 14 other officials, senior research officers, athlete relationship officer, research officers, in this HPOD, which is High Performance Olympic Division. Actually, this HPOD, they have actually divided into 3 categories as HPOD and POD and teams. So HPOD is essentially the High Performance Olympic Division, which has 8 disciplines in it. And they have categorized those disciplines, which we all know, disciplines as wrestling, weightlifting, athletics, badminton, shooting, boxing, and hockey and archery. So you can very well imagine out of these 8 disciplines, which are the HPOD disciplines, majority of these disciplines are what we are covering in the HPC in Odisha. So that actually speaks volume about the vision which the state has under the leadership of Honorable Chief Minister of Odisha, Shri Naveen Patnaik ji, and the Department of Sports and Youth Services under Mr. Vishal Dev leading it. And it's actually, it speaks volume in terms of the planning which has gone into it years behind. I mean, I'm glad that at the center level, it's happening at a very big scale. They also have the POD, what they call as priority Olympic disciplines, as fencing, swimming, table tennis, rowing, cycling, judo. So they've essentially covered every sport in these 3 categories, and teams coming in for the rest of the discipline, including the Paralympics, Olympics, and gymnastics and taekwondo. So, you know, I mean, I would say, and the icing to the cake is Sports Ministry is also doing away with rupees 2 lakhs cap as salary given to Indian coaches training at elite athletes in a bid to encourage them to produce better results. What better thing to say in this forum? And I think I chose this because I think this is a great announcement, and this is a great initiative. While states like Odisha is taking the lead, I think it's the center, which is the parent body, who's also setting an example. And I'm so pleased, and I'm sure all of you in the panel would really acknowledge that. So very quickly going on to the discussion, obviously we have a lot to talk about, and we have a question answer session also in between, but we will go as we go along. So while setting up the HPCs in the triple P model, which I say public-private partnership model, the government of Odisha stance was that they are taking a 2-pronged approach of popularity of the sport and medal prospect of the sport while setting up the HPC. And I think which is a very fair thing to do. How far has this worked, and what has been the contribution of the state of Odisha with the smooth functioning of the HPC would be a point let's discuss in an open house by all of you making a comment. And how would you rate this PPP model which the Odisha has taken a lead and set up all these HPCs? So I would like to start with Floris. What's your view on this?
Thank you, Rajiv. I think what the Odisha state does in popularity of the sports and medal, going for the medal race, I think that's the only way you have to look at sports, because for the grassroots, for the motivation of these young stars, these young talents, you need some heroes as well. So you need to have a goal, an inspiring environment to see where their sports can lead to as well. On the other hand, you need to have a popular sport for these talents to groom. So it's both ways. You need the grassroots programs, especially in hockey, of course, in Odisha. Hockey has been for a long time played in the rural areas of Jharkhand in Odisha. So there's some hockey culture already, but you need this grassroots popularity of a sport, and you definitely need the heroes and the road to the medals. And that's where you really need, of course, to focus on the high performance and the elite trainings. But it goes hand in hand, in my view, definitely.
Wonderful. I think that's absolutely what is the intention for. So I would ask the other panelists, let me also, Rushdee, just take a quick view on this from your end.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Floris. I mean, if we go to the sport that we're involved in, particularly, I think, swimming is at this point in time at a very, developmental stage in Odisha. So, creating an environment whereby young, talented athletes have access to the sport in the first place is really important. So, as we provide access to swimming pools, which is being done by Odisha, upgrading swimming pools, new high performance centers, and in fact, aquatic centers in our sport in particular. And also looking at it from a long-term developmental point of view by upskilling people in and around the aquatics fraternity. These are really important aspects in terms of long-term development and sustainability of the sport. Unfortunately, across the sport in India, it's very much in swimming, it's very much at the developmental stage. But if we don't take the first step in providing a solid foundation, which is both at grassroots and entry-level swimming, we're never going to get there. So, that's why we're looking at it from a much longer-term approach towards 2032 and beyond that. But in the meantime, laying a solid foundation and providing access to the sport and looking at changing the culture of the sport in India across the whole, and with the support of the government, providing access to young school kids not only gives them an opportunity to access swimming, but also provides them with a life skill in the sport.
Yeah, I'm glad, Rushdee, you also picked up my second point, which I wanted to say. Interestingly speaking, more on the importance of the stakeholders concerned. What is the role of the government, the central associations and the state sports association in ensuring that their athletes reach peak potential? Apart from setting up the infrastructure, how does each of these stakeholders get involved in the high performance and make the athletes medal ready? I think you've kind of touched upon this. Heath, would you like to comment on this?
Yeah, I mean, for me, you need a perfect storm of four elements, really. You need the athlete and the system around them, so their coaches, their support staff and everything. You need corporates, you need state sports associations and preferably the federations as well. And then without a doubt, you need the state governance to be backing the whole program. Once you have all those elements in place, then you've created that perfect storm where everyone's kind of on the same page. And if they're all on the same page, then you can drive forward at 1,000,000 miles an hour, right? If they're not, and there are certain stakeholders that are not having that shared objective of what you're trying to work towards, and you can drive as hard as you want, but there are always going to be little hurdles and bumps in the road that are just going to slow the whole program down. So for us in Odisha, I think one of the most important reasons why we've been so successful as a unit at the moment is that we've got excellent corporates involved. We've got visionary leadership from governance. We've got great athletic potential through our athletes. And so far, all the states and national federations are just completely behind us, right? So for the first time since I've been working in professional sport, not only in an Indian context, but just around the world, I've not had that many of all of the components going in the same direction. Very exciting.
Wonderful. I think these are exciting times. And as we say that if one has to play the sport, this is the time. Any inputs from you, Digpal, Dr. Digpal, on the same context?
Rajiv, you see, first of all, under the Honorable Chief Minister's vision, sports has fared really well in the state. And also the sports department has been, they have had a key role in implementing different strategies to foster high performance in the state. And right now, if you see the impact it has had, because you have the first step was right, where through PPP model, you had the best in the business coming into the state, implementing their best practices and also working as a unit. That has made a big difference. And another important component is right now, if you look at the Odisha model, the model is an athlete-centric model, which is driven by coach, and it's system focused as well. And that's where all the three important components of high performance or athlete development is at peak.
Wonderful, super. I think I can't miss on the opportunity of asking my dear friend Kazem on his views on the similar topic, similar matter. Kazem, any views on this before we move on to the next one?
Well, Raju, my friends, they all kill it. They haven't nothing left for me, because everything they said I agree, and it was beautiful comments. It was very, very good. Only thing I can add it about weightlifting view in Odisha always become one of the, they have some talented coming into the world levels and Asian level. They will bring a lot of good success for Odisha. That's why we are here. We try to build this HPC here in Bhubaneswar to be a center. But one thing is because you got very big state, and very hard to have access to these people in the villages, and they are around this the untouchable area. We missed a lot of opportunity to bring the best. They already hide them. We don't know where are they. So I think the government have a big support on weightlifting now, and I'm really glad to be part of this project with the 10 week. I just want to hope we can have a more access to the more area. If I have a more lifters, they are coming. The young source we have everywhere, we can find them. Just I wish to have a better something. We can have a more access to these areas, and we can bring them to HPC. Maybe if you have some umbrella whole sports centers hall for us, so they can go around this from every area. They go to the center and then pick up this talents from this source for us.
Wonderful, super. Now coming to the functioning of the specific HPC in Odisha, I would like to invite Floris for the first remarks. Floris, your organization, BHA, which is Bovelander Hockey Academy, since 2017 has been the technical partners of Hockey Ace Foundation under the aegis of Tata Steel and Tata Trust. How has this journey and the association been with the setting of NTHA Jamshedpur and now the NTHA Odisha under the same brand, though obviously the separate verticals, which has added bonus of being sponsored by IndusInd Bank, because for the girls vertical, so we have a sponsor there also. So any thoughts on that, Floris?
Yes, definitely, because it has been a great journey for us, of course. And I did not really know what to expect when we started it in 2017. We started with a grassroots program in Jharkhand. And to be honest, if you look at it now, and we have had some hurdles, of course. There were some hiccups, and there are still some hiccups. As it is like sports, you win some, you lose some, and you have to take these hurdles. But if we see what is achieved over the only in 3 years, we have done a great job. We have over 7,000 grassroots hockey players in the region, and with the regional development centers and 2 hockey academies, one in Jamshedpur, only boys at this moment, and a high performance center in Odisha with only girls now, but both academies will have the other gender as well soon, as soon as COVID is a bit under control in India as well. It has been a great journey. So what I really admire actually is the passion and the goal, the power which is behind these programs. That there's so many who want the young talents to become the new hockey stars again, and I think that's for me the main. If you see about the structure and everything, I think we of course we try to get these talents into the talented program and develop them. If you see them develop, there is a lot of talent in India, whether it's powerlifting, whether it's hockey, it's swimming. I think there are many talents. We just have to find them. The sooner the better, and at the younger age the better. But what we have set up in Jamshedpur is, of course, we did not have a pitch yet. We did not have an academy building. So the academy building is almost finished. We have a splendid pitch. We have a good, we have housing for the boys. We arrange everything. So there is a good hockey academy started up. Talking about Odisha, it's different, because what has been achieved within 1 year is really amazing. Of course, it was a bit easier because we have this Kalinga Stadium, we have the infrastructure. But to be honest, I am, and Rajiv, you can take this as a compliment as well. What has been done in Odisha is really great. For these girls in this first year, they developed in hockey, but also in their life skills. They developed in education, and especially the high performance of the physical part of it. Everything is in place, and I think you need, if you want to have the high performance centers, you need everything in place. It's not just hockey, it's the whole structure of the infrastructure of the physical part of education, of the motivation of the girls, the whole background of how to play. The whole structure should be okay. If I think it mentioned earlier, if you have one or two links which are not good developed yet, talents will not groom as they can. And I think in Odisha, because of the facilitation and everything, and the organization, which is really standing, the talents have the possibility to groom into the best players of India, and even the best players in the world. In Jamshedpur, we're waiting for the building and some other structure parts there to really push and accelerate into the elite center as it should be. But I think for me, this journey, which is only a couple of years, and it's as said, it is a long-term. You have to look at the long-term perspective. But even in short term, a lot has been done yet or already, and yeah, just very happy and proud to be part of it. And hopefully, we will get as soon as possible some talents out of it. But definitely, the structure, especially in Odisha, is really on top now. And I guess that most of the young talents from all over India, but definitely from the rural area in Odisha, Jharkhand, will come to this academy and evolve into good hockey players.
I totally agree with you. And being a Tata man, all I can say is time and again, Tatas have proved that, come what may be, whether it's all by themselves or in partnership with the other stakeholders, be it the government or the others, they've always excelled. And I think the work which is going on in Jamshedpur, we have a HPC there, Floris, that's working very well, high performance center, which complements all other excellent centers, including Naval Tata Hockey Academy, Jamshedpur. So sky's the limit. I think there's a great work which is going on, but I think the equation which is here in Odisha is different because of the government partnership. And this is where I think they have made the difference in all sports all across. And that's where they are leading by the example in the country. So moving on to...
Can I just add, because I think
sure.
What has been said already is that government, companies, local organizations, players, former athletes, it is always a combined thing. Because that's why I think the hockey part now, both the academies are working good because Tata Steel is behind it, Tata Trust is behind it, the government's behind it. So you need all these partners. If you don't have the government, that's why it's not that the Jharkhand hockey or the government is doing nothing. But if you compare the Odisha government with all other governments, they are the accelerator of sports at the moment.
I totally agree. Moving on this good spirit, let's talk a little bit about Kazem, your journey. If we go back in 2019, when you arrived in India, your initial process of setting up the HPC was quite challenging, as you know, as you had to set up everything from scratch. Take us through the entire journey. What did it take in terms of setting up the infrastructure to scouting the lifters initially, which was pretty difficult as well? Through this, we want to bring out what does it take to establish a HPC in India from scratch. I hope I have not put you on spot.
Well, maybe. You know that everything to start very hard, everything from scratch. You have to using everything you have, and this is I had never done it before in Odisha for the kind of the big project. And thank God, the help of this KGS and 10 week and government, they are working together and bring this. They all working very hard to get this point. But always starting hard. You have to, I need to go to KIT University. We have to show, seeing all the sports hall available, and I choose one of the best I could see. And then we use equipment, which is a long list, because everything is not available. We have to get it ordered, go to the system, order it one by one, go to layer to layer, and the equipment card. Everything was done. After 3 months time, we had everything, no, actually, but the thing, just the platform was hard because come from different state. And it was very hard to get the platform on time, but it was perfectly, we get all equipment. And for the scouting, we had to go to Kalinga Stadium and all lifters around this area, and the Barampur, which is from, I think it was the number I give, it was 83 lifters. They came, and we choose 24, 12 female, 12 males. In my knowledge, I get from 10 years old, which is, I thought if my plan was to having some potential for Commonwealth Youth Games. So I thought if I get 10 years old before I go home, I can give Odisha a ready package with all the available to go to Commonwealth winner, youth and juniors. And that's going to feed Odisha for years. If we have some champion come already 13 years old, prepare with good technique, with all the understand the knowledge of weightlifting from right source. So we have a 20 years lifters, 15 years lifter. They can keep giving Odisha medals for years and years. That's the thing, the plan. But one of the things, also the second scouting, we go to district. I have to travel with my OPS team. We're going around traveling and find from 148 people, we choose another 21 people to make my numbers to become 40 people, which the plan was 20 female, 20 males. And the age between 12 to 18, 19. But some of them very good. We cannot close eyes on some people, which is, I was right. And one of them is over 20, but is bronze medal senior level, which is a great only for 6 months training. And the one other lifter, the last medal with the bad luck and get some stress during competition. So the senior level also covered, the youth cover all elements. What are other things? It was challenging for me. It was, be honest with you, I like to see more coordination and a partnership from the coaches, so they can help and support the 10-week HPC to let us to have their lifters. But I have a feeling that some of them not being encouraged to come, or they hide it from us, which is don't give us enough source. And some of them is very far from us, as I mentioned before. We need to bring them on during the selection. Some of them couldn't be on time because of they haven't received the news on time because it's very far from us, or they're traveling too far. Anything I miss?
No, I think you did well. In fact, in addition, what I can say, having spent my time here in the last 2.5 years, I think weightlifting is one sport which has been a developed product so far the state is concerned, but they were winning medals at both junior and senior levels, which is a very good thing. So there was obviously some good work which was happening at the sports hostel level from the Department of Sports and Youth Services, Government of Odisha. And as you rightly said, in my visits to the rural segments of Odisha, I myself spotted such great talent in weightlifting. I mean, 2-3 sports I can even easily mention, which is hockey, football, weightlifting, athletics. These were the sports where you would have athletes coming over, like anybody's business. So I think some great work which has gone into it already, and I think that is what has helped all the HPCs to start their shop, so to say. And talent scouting, which will come later in part of the discussion, is where I think we will touch upon these things. So we'll quickly move on to athletics with Ajit. Ajit, your colleague and senior coach James Hillier, the head coach of Athletic HPC, has time and again said that you and your team are working towards developing this Athletic HPC into most innovative high-performance athletic center in Asia. How much of this has been achieved and the road ahead towards making this a reality? Ajit?
Sorry, it's a question to me. I think I got.
Yes. I would repeat, coming from your senior coach and colleague, James Hillier, first of all, I must congratulate James for being blessed with, as of both James and wife, for being blessed with a second child, which is the baby boy. So congratulations. He had to take leave last minute, but Ajit, being another senior coach in the HPC, he's with us. Ajit is, as you've already heard from Diksha, the profile, I don't have to say much there. But Ajit, for you, Mr. James Hillier, the head coach of the Athletic HPC, has time and again said that you and your team are working towards developing this Athletic HPC into the most innovative, high-performance athletic center in Asia. How much of this has been achieved and the road ahead towards making this a reality? Ajit? Heath, if you have heard me, maybe you can, because you very much part of the project.
So we've been running for just over 12 months now. So innovation for us is basically the cornerstone of what we're trying to do on anything, right? So whenever we ask ourselves in the team, what are we trying to do? If we can't answer that with an innovative question, then we rethink it hard, because we've got to start thinking outside the box if we want to get performance. You can't expect to think in the box and then beat the others, right? You've got to come up with new things all the time. So innovation for us starts in coaching. So we try to develop innovative ways of remodeling the coaching, not only at the HPC level, but we work a lot with any of the coaches in the state that are willing to work with us. We work with any athletes that are willing to work with us, whether they were in our HPC or in our monitoring cohort group, even if they're just athletes coming to the track. We collaborate and we try and exchange ideas with anybody and everybody in terms of how we can improve an athlete or a coaching system. We're trying to innovate in sports science, so we're trying to make sure that we're covering all the bases in terms of load management, athlete wellness, looking at periodization of programming. It's very difficult with this particular pandemic that we're facing at the moment, but we've already got a whole competition schedule planned for next year, and we're ready to adapt it at a moment's notice depending on what the information comes out. So innovation in terms of sports science, innovation in terms of sports medicine. We've got systems in place that allow coaches to know in real time what the status of our athletes are. We have a system that monitors them with acute to chronic workload ratios. And we're trying to adapt a system where each and every athlete may be on a group program, but has an individualized aspect to that program that allows them to then really move forward. Athletics is by and large an individual-based sport, so everybody needs a little bit of a tweaking here and there. Our managers are really good. We've got a really good management team. There's no I in team, so the guys really work hard on having each other's backs, collaborating a lot, and I think that's been a very big success point for us. And then everything is athlete-centric. So whatever we do, it's always athlete first, person first, then athlete, and then we build it out from there. So we're trying very hard to be innovative with the athletes and really educate them and make sure that they have good language skills, good general knowledge skills, education. And then on that base, we then build coaching, nutrition, psychology, and all the other aspects, the mental approach to competition. So that's how we kind of trying to close the loop around them in terms of high performance and innovation. So far, we've got excellent buy-in from, not only our own team, but also the coaches and the athletes around us. Our athletes that are training with us are loving it. I mean, we just had 100%. We test them on a monthly basis. So the fourth week in every cycle is our test week. This week, we've just had phenomenal results across the board. I think we're averaging in the 80s and the 90s in terms of personal improvement month on month for the last sort of 6 to 8 months. So the system's working well. And I think that's what we're looking to sort of move towards sustainability. Once we can crack that model at our HPC, then how do we sort of filter that down into all of the feeder centers? And then how do we take that down to the grassroots level as well? And I think that's going to be the big challenge, because you can make the best HPC in the world, but if you don't have a strong feeder system right from grassroots and district level feeding that center, there's no talent, nothing can happen. So that's going to be the big challenge over the next couple of years. All our plans rely on a massive grassroots program. And I think that's where I just want to take a leaf from Kaz. We need to have a lifting platform, an athletics track, a hockey field, a swimming pool, a shooting range in every single district of the state. And that's where we go back to those. We don't have state support, and if we don't have state association support, you're not going to build a proper grassroots program. And at each of those centers, we need really passionate development coaches who are driving just participation and getting involved. Because tomorrow Kaz picks up the phone to James and says, hey man, my lifter in Sundargarh is massively powerful, but I just don't think he's going to cut it as a lifter. You want to try him out in the 100 meters or in the high jump or the long jump, and the next thing you know, we've got Odisha's next state and national champion. And that kind of cohesiveness is what we need to work towards over the next 3 to 4 years. And then you're going to see seriously good results. I think we probably got more athletes in Odisha than you guys have over there in Holland, don't you, Floris?
Floris, you're muted. Floris, you're muted.
I'm sorry about that. No, I totally agree. You have a lot of talent in Odisha. And actually, I just wanted to add, because I thought about it earlier as Kazem, because we have a lot of strong guys who cannot play hockey in our grassroots program. They're really strong, but they cannot handle the hockey stick correct. So I'm really hopeful that we can bring them to some other sport, or
hey, give it to me. Give it to me.
Yeah, you can get them, and we can bring. We'll almost say we throw them into the water for swimming, or let them run. But in the end, they are all sportive, and they have some talents, but not all hockey, not all weightlifting. But if we can have some cooperations, we definitely will get the right person to the right sport.
Yeah, I love this. I love
nice.
this. This is what ecosystem is all about, and the collaborative efforts. Moving forward.
Sorry, Rajiv, I got a cut off in between. I just wanted to add to what.
Yeah, sure. Ajit, you're back. Wonderful to hear you. Yeah, sure.
We are aspiring to be the most innovative SPC in athletics in Asia, and one of the I think Heath has explained it very well. And one of the example what I could give you from our recent things, like we implemented something called criteria-based rehabilitation program. For example, if 100-meter runners getting injured in an ankle, so the entire team will be sitting together and making 5 different criteria to bring that athlete back to back to play. So, for example, the first criteria might be like the athlete should be able to run in 5 minutes. He should be able to jog 5 minutes without having that pain in his ankle. And second criteria might be he should be able to run in 5 and 50% speed. That goes on, and the last criteria is he's coming back to the field. So the beauty of the system is like instead of focusing on the problem, we are focusing on the process, and athlete also having a different mindset, and they have a positive mindset. And we are using this thing for the last 3 months, and the outcome is fantastic. We are getting faster results, and athletes are coming back from injury, and we are not communicating them how severe it is. Instead of that, we are focusing on the process, and that is giving us fantastic kind of innovation what we're doing in terms of performance therapy innovation in athletics species. And we are doing other things as well, and Heath has already explained in sports nutrition, sports psychology as well.
Yeah. Excellent. While we are at it, Ajit, I would love to hear from you about this guy who you picked it from odds, and now he's clocking one of the best timing. So I think it's apt to say it here. Why don't you just mention about that guy?
Yeah, right. When me and James met him in Assam, he was in a sports hostel, state sports hostel with a big coming out and all, but he had participated in one of the national camp which we conducted in Odisha last year. So we noted him down, and so we wanted to meet him again. But by that time, he was out of shape. So none of the coach believed in him, and he is with us for the last 6 months. Now he started beating India's national co-holder. So that's an absolute yeah, story. Yeah, yeah. So that's shows that our process is working. Yeah.
I mean, imagine what must be going around with the guy and his family. I mean, out of scratch, he is now clocking the best, and he's coming out of all sorts. I mean, great, 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 words, and I mean, it's a good story, and I mean, just a beginning, but still, there's a long way to go.
Yeah.
So thank you, Ajit, and moving on to Rushdee. At the launch of the swimming HPC, it was said that to feed the swimming HPC here, there were plans afoot to build a swimming pool in each of the districts in Odisha. What is the progress on that part? Does JSW intend to build more grassroots HPCs in maybe the rural centers of the country?
Rajiv, what is actually happening is that is being supported from state government, and they're looking at not only building new facilities, but also upgrading existing facilities. So based on my feedback and interaction with government, you're looking at probably about initially 4 pools that are being targeted for additional support. So you're looking at the 4 pools, plus you obviously have the existing pools within the different districts. And having had recent conversations with the government, what's really encouraging for us is looking at how we upskill the people that are working at those existing pools, so that we can have a pool of grassroots coaches and teachers within the sport of swimming. In that way, we can build upon a base of good and sound technical expertise. And on top of that, again, in terms of the support that you're getting from the state government, one of the things that I say to them at the outset in terms of building a HPC, it's not only about the people that you need to bring in, but you need to give us a proper facility. The pool wasn't heated and it wasn't covered, so there was limitations in terms of what could be done. Work is underway currently for the covering of the pool, as well as plans are very far down the road in terms of a brand new facility, which is going to be heated and covered. So, we're quite looking forward to not only the rollout of a grassroots plan, because as I said, the sport is very developmental in the state at this point in time, but also a facility whereby the talented young swimmers that we already have in our program will be able to have a dedicated facility, including a gym and both a long course and a short course pool where they can practice on a daily basis.
Wonderful. And I think being situated in Kalinga Stadium, I am the first hand proof that the work is going on in great speed. And this is the best swimming pool you can talk about. It's the international standard, and having it covered would just be the right thing for you guys. And I think the plans for the district to have more and more swimming pools established, other than what they already have, which is sizable numbers, I think the sky's the limit, as I said, and it's going to really help you to expand laterally. So this is something which is absolutely brilliant. So coming to Kazem, you have time and again stressed that one of your biggest problem here is the flawed technique with which established weightlifters come here. It's a challenge to get rid of them, of the previous flaws. So what really goes behind rectifying this in the HPC, and what is the approach?
Well, Raju, I respect for every coaches, they have a different ways to teach. Every coaches have a different own styles, and I respect all of them, that's why how coaches, we should work together.
Correct.
But when I receive some of the lifters become to HPC member, some of the certain thing I really expect to have, and it's very hard to remove this bad technique, or I think it's bad technique. Maybe it's good for that level, but I'm trying to remove this bad technique by doing. Sometimes we have no time. Is that some lifter they train for 5-6 years with the same technique? It's very hard to make changes. But the best way, I try to cooperate with the technique they have and try to understand their problem and doing slowly, using different method of strength conditions, some of special equipment we have. So the technique has become nice. And now I'm happy with what they have. After 1 year time, I have what I want now. Thank God. But this is not the all. We need the lifters. When we're scouting the new lifters, they start from scratch. I have to train my coaches, the 3 of them, to teach them step by step. Now, Raju, they have a beautiful technique. They say they aren't going to feed Orissa or Indian team for years and years because they learn from scratch in a good technique. So if we can educate coaches, the new coaches, the old coaches, I have respect. I love all of them. I don't have but they are learning these ways. Old schools they're using the cultural thing they learn from NIS. That's the way they develop this lifter, and some of them become very good in the world. They come into the Asian championship. This is very respectful. But if you want to move forward, if you want to go to level, continuously produce lifters, good lifters, continuously having a lifters, not by luck. So this way we have to get, as Heath said, that is very nice. I agree with Heath. We should have a passion coach, which is who follow the right program and right deals, not own styles. It's good to have, but when they go to different lifters, new lifters coming, we have to be different with them. The world is changing now. We have a 21st century, all these things changing. The thing you lifted 20 years ago, now for me, it's different, completely different. Now I'm learning, since this 5 months ago, the Corona time, I have time to study more about women. And now, thank God, I noticed how much I need to still improve myself. So I'm trying to write some book, and I'm nearly finished the book now, which is helping. We should help coaches, not the advanced lifters, adult coaches, the intermediate coaches, beginner. They can follow this easily to different between women's and men's, and how we can create a good program by your own mind. It's not, you don't have to follow the copy and paste from YouTube or Google it. It is available, but sometimes it's not work for everyone. Correct. The technique we receive from Indian cultures is different to the European. They have different styles, they have a different limbs, different physics, but still can be adjustable to mix it together. Correct. Am I asking you right questions?
Your answers are perfect, Kazem, right, as always. And I totally agree with you. Sometimes the basics are sort of altered to the preference of individuals when I talk about athletes. I mean, in the same breath, when I talk, there is a guy called Sachin Tendulkar. If one would have seen him holding the bat when he first made it to the international scene, people are wondering what the hell. I mean, he's holding the bat almost by the blade, if not on the handle. But look who he is and how he has proved. So, I mean, there could be exceptions, but end of the day, one has to go through the basics, and there is a lot which attached to it in terms of the grip and everything. I think the reason why I asked this question was for the knowledge. And obviously, as Kazem put, each one of the coaches have their own ways to bring upon a talent. And I think high performance centers and, Abhinav, Bindra, target performance centers kind of places are the ones where all these technical elements gets altered. Before I come to sports science and talk more from Dr. Digpal and Heath, I just want to quickly run through a couple of essential points. Floris, coming back to you again, you've been a gold medalist yourself, and you have been training and coaching hockey players for a considerable time now. From your playing days to now, how has hockey in India and the world evolved per se in terms of training at youth level to even the style of play at the elite level?
It's always difficult because to see what really changed. But I think the main thing is that it's been a long time since we play on artificial grass, and artificial grass really changed the game. I think that's the main, but it's already 40 or maybe 50 years ago, now maybe 40 years ago, which is really a long time. And still we have some Indian infrastructure has to adapt to this system, but artificial grass really changed the game. And definitely also the new rules like the self pass, so you don't have to which increase the tempo, no say that interchange rule, so you can go in and out. That all means that the physical part of hockey really changed. It's some say it's more a running game, more a technical game. I do agree. It's a lot more running and more physical than it used to be. On the other hand, that really changed it. So it's the faster game. It's more stronger passing and more running. On the other hand, the main thing is still technique, tactics, and the game changers. Those who are winning the game are still the most talented players because they have the good skills. They have the overview at the pitch. So yes, in general, it changed. So tactics and the speed increased, but the deciding moments are always done by those who are more talented, understand the game, they read the game, they know when to hit, when to go forward, to give the right pass in the right direction. You can train as hard as you want to become the strongest, the fast runner, but to have the technique and make sure you pass the ball on the right time to the right person, that's sometimes gifted, and you have to develop it just by playing a lot of matches from grassroots until you reach the level.
Super. So, as I was mentioning, that there is a role of sports science and a very big role. So I'll start with, obviously, I'll bring it to Dr. Digpal and Heath. But Rushdee, from you, abroad, a lot of HPCs have started integrated learning programs on sports science and medicine for producing professionals in that field. Don't you think our HPCs should start the same, and any such progress made in India? First to you and then to Dr. Digpal.
Well, from my experience and from what I see, and some of the the top professionals that you work with, and one of the both coaches and sports science staff and support staff, the one thing that I've always found is that there's always a thirst for knowledge. There's always a desire to learn. So any opportunity to learn something new, to upskill your knowledge, to get more experience is going to be something that's going to be beneficial to the sport. So, the opportunity to roll out plans, especially in the situation that we find ourselves right now, we have to look at alternatives in terms of training smarter as opposed to training harder. We're sitting with a pandemic right now, looking at innovative ways of coaching and delivering the sport is certainly something that is going to be beneficial to everybody in the long run. As I said, I just think anybody and with the staff that we have both at Odisha and at the institute where I work, IIS, it's something that I constantly challenge our staff to do. What are you learning today? What are you learning new today that is going to improve what we're delivering to the athletes? So yes, it is a global phenomenon right now. I think sport is changing a lot. The way sport is delivered, not only because of COVID, but simply you're starting to see athletes go on for much longer, into their 30s and sometimes even into their 40s. And that is down to improved sports science, improved coaching techniques, and in order for us to leverage that, upskilling people, sports science staff, coaches is certainly going to be vital.
So, Rajiv, first of all, I'd like to give everyone an outlook about our center and how it started. So when we did the MOU, we got, we finished the center in 39 days. So that was again a big challenge and also a big, victory for our team, because to set up a high performance center, and we just got, hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So we just got one of the wings in the hockey stadium, and it was in very bad condition. But with our team, different teams worked on it, and in 39 days the center was ready. We also did the program for our team where we had experts from Italy, Germany, Poland who came and did their training and set the protocols. And on the 40th day, the inauguration was been done, and on the 41st day, the most important thing, which was the coaches program for different sports, was been taken into consideration, where all the coaches from different state hostels came to the facility. They got introduced to the sports science component and application to their sport. And initially, there is a mindset where generally coaches think that sports science or technology is meant for elite athletes. But you see, elite athletes have trained for years, and they are the people who don't want to try something new. So that's a false assumption, and that is what we wanted to change. And slow and steady, once the coaches felt that it's not a threat, but it's an add-on to what they want to do, they were able to think from the scientific person application as well. And that helps us leverage on the Odisha ecosystem, where the coaches started understanding and picking up certain cues where athletes had injuries, and they started sending the athletes to our facility. And also to give you an insight that we have 4 different labs which we have created, and in India this is the most advanced lab which caters talent identification, sports specific assessment, scientific training based on the assessment, and we have prevention programs, we have quality rehab department as well. And keeping that in mind, we have different labs. So we have a postural lab, we have a functional lab, which tests the static dynamic component for the athletes, which is generally neglected, which forms the fundamental of the athlete's base for any sport. Then we have the gait lab, where for every athlete we do a run or gait analysis to check the impact of whatever training they are doing on their day-to-day activity, because they are just not training, they need to walk into the and then we have created a functional lab where we do functional screening for different components specific to the sport, where we check their upper limb strength, lower limb strength, agility, mobility specific to the sport. And we have a normative data. And just to give you an insight that our founder, Mr. Abhinav Bindra, he has traveled across the globe and he has been to best of the best labs. And that's where we have formed a panel of advisory experts. We have specialists like Bob Gambardella, who was the chief for the Singapore Sports School. We have Steve Roche. He was the high performance director for the USOC, US State Olympic Committee. And then also we have Dr. Lars, who is the IOC, medical scientific committee head. So these are the people who directed us. And we also have other experts on board from the advisory board or editorial board of BJSM, who has helped us create this scientific facility in place. And to give you an insight that in last 1 year, in the first 6 months itself, we had 90% occupancy. So the athletes started using, sports science. They got introduced to sports science. And our founder, Abhinav Bindra, believes that sports science or technology needs to be, introduced or there should be a protocol in place at the grassroots level, because that's where you can actually bring a change, not at the elite level. And that is what we're trying to do in Odisha, where athletes from different hostels are coming to the facility. And our general model is where the athlete comes to the facility from different sport. We do an initial assessment specific to their sport. So all the components which are specific to the sport are being tested. Based on the results, the athletes are divided into 3 groups. First is the elite group, intermediate group, and the primary group. Based on their performance, the report has been shared with their coaches and their, physiotherapists or their athletic trainer. And then we decide that how many sessions of correction or prevention they need in our facility. So for example, the primary athlete will have less than 50% of the maximum efficiency in that particular variable. So that's how we decide. And based on that, the athlete comes to the facility 3 times in a week, 2 times in a week, or once in a week. And same way, for the first time in any state or any facility, monthly chart has been created along with the coach, where one of their training sessions are happening in our HPC. And also we have a recovery chamber, which is a cryo chamber, which is extensively used by athletes. So right now with our high performance center, we have catered more than 700 athletes from the state hostels itself. In total, we have catered 1,300 athletes, which includes athletes from different HPCs, different national camps which have been organized. The Indian rugby team made the maximum use of the HPC when it comes to injury management, when it comes to high performance testing and recovery in the cryo chamber. The Indian national hockey team was training here, and the good part was that for recovery, generally, they used to go and they used to do ice bath. But now they used to just give a call, they used to fix their time period, and we are just next to the stadium. So it used to just take 3 minutes for them to come in, and 4 or 5 athletes used to come in and they used to be done with the part.
Yeah.
So this is what we are able to, do with the HPC. And to come to your question, Rajiv, right now, yes, there is a lot of change which is happening when it comes to educating different professionals. So Abhinav Bindra Foundation, along with the ELMS Foundation, have come up with the high performance leadership course where you have participants from state governments. We have sports directors, sports organization, and also officials from Sports Authority of India getting benefited. And our education partner is a team from Loughborough University. So that is one program which we have initiated, and it has created a good start in the Indian ecosystem to empower our administrators. Second important area I would like to highlight is that we as a foundation have started with the coaches education program, and also we emphasize on mental health. So next month we're gonna run a mental health program for the coaches, understanding that the athlete comes first, and also understanding their mental safety component, because a psychological safety component is very, very important right now in the ecosystem to understand, because we generally expect that the athlete needs to win or perform, but we don't really understand that there will be 1 or 2 or 3 medalists. What about the other 100? So we need to also understand from the person the psychological impact it brings. And one great news which I like to put across on this platform is that you would be happy to know that we believe that education is a medium through which we can create future leaders. And we have right now introduced an education institute, which stands for Abhinav Bindra Sports Medicine and Research Institute, where our role is to provide global best practices at affordable costing. So the admissions are out for bachelors of physical therapy and master's students right now in India. And that's how we are trying to create a change.
Can I register there?
Please, if you are eligible.
No,
yes.
I think brilliant, yeah. I mean, Dr. Digpal, the kind of work which you guys are doing, I mean, I can only vouch for it. 3 of our HPCs who are based in Kalinga, we're trying to make the most of it. I can certainly say about NTHA that we have our curriculum lined up with the sessions which we have at yours. And I'm sure swimming and Reliance athletic program is also doing so. But that's a great thing to have. And I'm sure in the time to come, you would have plans to open it up to public at large who could benefit out of it. One is obviously the top priority being the core area, which is the sports and the sportsmen. But at some stage, I guess, just for the healthy being in a healthy state, some initiatives would also be taken. But before I lose sight on this topic, which is very, very important, let me bring Heath into it, because Heath, you played an instrumental part in development of Center for Sports Medicine at the Kokilaben Dhirubhai Ambani Hospital. From setting up the Sports Science and Medicine program, training staff and consulting with sports people from grassroots level to professional athletes, you did it all. How has your journey in India been? And of course, there is a room for ample development. How can we as a nation take it to the next level in terms of sports science practices?
Thanks, Rajiv. I think the bottom line for me, the longer I've been involved in sports, the more I've realized that you need to be a jack of all trades and a master of one. And unless you have the broad-based knowledge of every aspect of how to create or how to bring out the best performance in an athlete, you're going to be a little bit narrow-minded, and you run the risk of being counterproductive. You become a hurdle in the way. So for me, I'm not so keen on this concept that there is coaching and that there is sports science and that there is sports medicine. For me, they're all the same thing. They're the science of sport. They're the language that we use to explain how we get performance out of athletes. The best coaches that I've worked with around the world are all the best sports scientists, the best sports medicine guys that understand how to get the best results out of, or get, the athletes in the best physical condition and the healthiest, are all scientists in their own right, analyzing that whole process. So I think for us, what we need to really do is work at education broad-based. We've really got to create great grassroots coaches, great grassroots sports science and medicine and strength and conditioning specialists. We need to look at creating good managers, because I think very often if you don't have dynamic thinking within sports management, you can become a little bit textbooky and then you don't get great results. So we need to incorporate the managerial mechanics in all of this. And I think once you start bringing all of those people together and saying, well, show me how you produce the results that you do in your program. Don't tell me that you're going to do something. Show me the methodology of how you're doing it. Then you're a sports scientist. Whether that means that you're a coach or a physio or a strength and conditioning specialist or a manager of a team is irrelevant, because you're all scientists when it comes to producing sports results at the end of the day. That's my take on it. And I think that's the philosophy that we try and use. Any one of our people can speak very broadly on any other aspect within the talent that makes him very uniquely effective and good in a specific area of the program.
Yeah, wonderful. In fact, you've been very modest. In fact, there's been compliment from elite athletes like Saina Nehwal, the ace shuttler, in the interview said, Heath Matthews redefined the concept of fitness for me. Heath, you're a very popular man. I always knew that. But, it's coming from somebody like Saina, and who you have helped. You've worked with so many champions across so many disciplines. Do you somewhere feel the average Indian athletes or even the elite athletes suffer from the lack of awareness regarding injury rehab or sports science in particular? And what is your approach towards it?
Yeah, the lack of awareness is broad-based. It's not only at an elite level. I mean, we really struggle right from, PE teachers at school, parents, enthusiastic parents supporting their kids right at the beginning of the whole athlete journey, right straight through. And I think this is where we really need to start working, because for me, high performance centers are going to be white elephants one day unless we start drilling down into our developmental level and then start drilling right down into grassroots level, right? Because that whole channel is what we base our high performance on. So for us, we really have to really work hard on education. And, Saina and a lot of the top athletes that I work with, I'll never take any credit for any of their performances, because the cream always rises to the top. You can hang your badge on that and say, yep, I was associated with that person. But 99 times out of 100, exactly like Floris had already said, your top athletes know what to do. When the heat is there and they're in the pressure of the moment, they have that little je ne sais quoi, that little fifth element that just allows them to beat the other opponents around them. What our job is to do is to deflect all the rubbish that can get in their way. Poor coaching, misguided medicine, poor nutrition, under education, lack of finances, lack of access to facilities and competition. It's our job to make sure all of those hurdles stay out of their way so they can get to where they need to get to. And I think if we're good at doing that, keeping all of the stuff out of the way, they will naturally go to where they need to go to.
I totally agree. And in fact, there's a question which I would like to put to open house for all. In fact, Dr. Digpal, everybody can, comment on that. Generally, the top Indian athletes are part of an elite youth setup, not before at the age of 12 years. Whereas in Europe, players are already in the high performance centers and advanced academies by the age of 7 to 9 years. Do you think this can be a reason for the difference in quality between India and the world? Not undermining India, but I'm saying in terms of the real sense.
So on this,
Dr.
I'd
Digpal?
like to comment, Rajiv. So you
Yeah.
see, only in India, I don't agree on this because
Okay.
for particular sport, like for example, for gymnastics, you can say that, to start early and, to specialize early can work out. But if you talk about the other sports, as per research, if you look, the athletes should participate in various sports to develop their motor skills till the age of 12 or 13. And after 13, they should work on specialization into their particular sport. We have a lot of talent. The only issue is that we don't have accountability in the system. And when I say accountability, as Heath has rightly pinpointed, that there are a lot of different verticals. There is the coach, there is a sports scientist, there is a physical therapist, nutritionist, psychologist. How do you bring everyone, on one platform? You can only bring when you have data, when you have science behind it. And another important misconception is that every athlete is different. We cannot have one program for 12 different athletes, and that's wrong. And that can only change when we have more education programs in place, which are scientifically driven. And that's where we empower our coaches. We make them more data driven. We help them understand, show them progress. So when there is a scientific approach in place, we have a starting point. So for example, if any athlete right now in Odisha, when they come to our facility, when we do their assessment, we are accountable because we have done, the assessment for them, and we have a starting point now. And we believe that every month assessment won't help because it's a very short time period. So we generally believe to reassess after 3 months. And that is what we discuss with the coach. And when the coach is able to see the progress or understand the weakness of the athlete, that's where they believe that, really the athlete needs to regress rather than progress. And this is the fine line. For an athlete, it's his first injury, which is the biggest threat. And in Europe or in the developed countries, the biggest philosophy is that prevention is better than cure. And in India, we advocate that, okay, once an athlete gets an injury, we'll provide the best of rehab facility. That's not right. We should have such scientific structures in place where every expert plays their role towards excellence and making sure the athlete should be injury-free throughout the season. So if we adopt, scientific approaches at the grassroots level with the right talent identification, sky's the limit.
Correct. Before I come
Maybe,
to Heath, yeah.
Can I
I
just
would
add,
like to
because
ask, yes. Floris, I was coming to you only before I ask Heath. What's your view on that?
to Heath or to me?
To you, Floris, all yours.
Oh, okay. No, because I think it's not in Holland at least, and I think in Europe we're not that specialized in the beginning as well. I definitely agree on multiple sports, personal development before you specialize into one sport. The only thing is that here in Holland, just to line up the situation in Holland for hockey players, they start at an age of 5 or 6 or 7, but they play twice a week, maybe 1 hour, and it's just playing a game. It's just that they're not sitting at home doing some, I don't know, some games behind the PlayStation or whatever. They just go out and play. And even till the age of 12, 14, most of the players in Holland, the hockey players, the rising stars, they play twice a week. They play one match. And then only when they are 12 to 18, they play 3 times a week. We all play 3 times a week. We play hockey, we play one match. Up till 16, 18, only if you're in the national team, you play more. And in the end, you play more and you specialize more. But before that, we do not practice that much. The only thing is the facilities, as you said, the science behind it, the trainings. The trainings are good. The development in hockey are good. As long as you have good trainers, good science behind it, everything is arranged properly, you don't have to train every day. You can train every day. In the end, of course, you need more practice, you need your physical stuff. But if you are a developed person, I think we all agree on that, or most of us, because I've heard it earlier as well. If you develop your personality at school, at general motor skills, in knowledge and everything, then you become a better player as well. So in Holland, we don't we have hockey academies where they start young, but it's just a minor detail in the development of the children, and in the end they will specialize into other sports or into mathematics or become a doctor or whatever. But the first, I think that's the main thing, is that we have to develop children in a broader way of their life, and then they will specialize into whatever they want to be and where their talents are.
Good, good. And Heath, a quick one from you before I slip in another question. I think Diksha is waiting for some question answers.
Yeah.
Also. So just a very quick one from you, Heath, on the same topic.
I think I agree 100% with Floris. You know, it's the individual first, and then the athlete. Performance center needs talent. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes. Yep. Yeah, you're breaking in between, but that's fine.
A high performance center needs good talent. So without a good athlete pathway or a long-term athlete development system, you can't produce good talent. And early specialization, in my mind, is not the right way to go. We need people to be very proficient in athleticism. They need to learn how to move in multiple ways, and that's why it's important that they play multiple sports. Right. I mean, for us, I mean, if we can get youngsters to be running and jumping and throwing at the age of 7, 8, and 9, identify them early, but just monitor them and guide them without smothering them. You know, by the ages of 12 to 16 is when you really want to start asking them questions about whether they want to really take up athletics as a career. And then by the ages of 17, want them performing very well, showing them that they've got a real chance in athletics in the future, and then grooming them into that process. And over time, exactly like Floris said, right? We're not making them train every single day until they absolutely hate that sport. We're just nurturing them along a pathway that has a lot to do with their mental development, their emotional and personality development, and very, very, very strongly rooted in education as well. And that I feel cannot happen in a high performance environment if you're putting young minds who are not emotionally ready and intelligently ready to understand being removed from their parental nurturing environment and put into a program. I don't agree with that at all. I think we've got to avoid early specialization and just manage our talent in their natural environment until they're old enough, 14, 15, 16, to be able to move anywhere near some kind of a structured performance program. That's my personal view.
Yeah, absolutely dot on, because I also have similar views, but I'm glad I kind of raised this point, because there seemed to be a lot of talk which goes around with what goes in the Western world and the developed countries. But I think what we have discussed has given us the right perspective.
Kazem,
Yes,
Kazem also wants to add to this. He's just...
Yes, Kazem.
Yeah, sorry, I make it very fast and quick, because I know maybe you'll be bored now. To finish the Digpal and the Heath suggestion is very, very good. I would add something. Usually we're waiting the athlete to come to us, to our selection. We bring invitations and people is coming the date, specific day. They come and they join, they do the best, and they will select it or not. But the role model I have in England, I went to 28 schools my own, with my own budget. They get permission from schools, and I go to the the PE teachers, ask them to give me the best. They have this few things about speed, about agility, about explosiveness and flexibility, and they give me some. So in the school, I choose from these people. I have every school I choose 10 people. From 28 schools, I had 280 people chosen, and I choose the 4 school in same area, so they can have a travel on 5 kilometers to go to the center. And this center, they come and train in this school for 3 months. After 3 months, that 40 people become 10 people. And I have my numbers from 180, 280 become 45 people. Then I invite them to come to my main center in Perivale track. I had a small place, but I couldn't do everywhere. I have to train only twice a week. I done this role model is working. Rajiv is working, but new to give them support, supplements, food, this, but still we have a result, because I found the people who come to me. Not I go to them first. They show interest. They love to do this, not by force. And these people, they start loving this sport because they involved by themselves. So if you have a same model for this in this, I think for we go to schools, we find wanted. Then we show them, we give them a chance to train some area close by. They don't have to throw that much. Then we have a people going. We have army. We can have army of every sport. Then I find out this is not good for me. I call, for example, Heath. This is not good for me. Can you? It's good for you, or swimmer. It's good for swimmer. So we can share this idea. In Spain, they have one center. In Madrid, this is the excellence center. They get these people from this school. They train them for 3, 4, 5 years. After 3, 4, 5 years, they all become the best of Spain. Spain have the best weightlifting result because they have a good few centers like these. They feed them 24 hours. They watch them, they monitor them, and they have a school in the same area. But the problem is here, when we bring them here, we cannot hold on to them. They lose interest. Some of them go to the army. When you have my lifters become very good, then some have come from railway, they come and pick it up, and they go this competition. They said, oh, I give you contract, you come to me. You cannot continue your job because someone pick up your job, and the lifters need money. The lifters looking for future. The lifter wants somewhere to go and continue for his life because they know lifting is, or sport is not continuously can focus. So they have to find a job. That's why in Odisha, people doing hard work to get the right job, to get a job from this sport. We have to hold them. How? I don't know. I need your advice, guys, how we can hold this guy for 3 years with you, then let them go do what they like.
Correct. No, so these are the eventualities, and these are the hard facts of any system. And I think in India, it prevails a great deal because job security is one of the most essential part for any family, nurturing a child as an athlete. So obviously there are aspirations also. So these are the factors. I totally agree. And I would in fact love to talk more about talent scouting and all, but because of paucity of time, please pardon me for curtailing some of the discussion points. Before we go to Q&A, I just want to have one point on the COVID-19. And I would start with Ajit, because some of the HPCs which are operating with obviously abiding by the guidelines of the state and the center administration. What has been the impact of COVID-19 on HPCs? How are the coaches ensuring the athletes who are so out of practice remain in shape? And what is the roadmap ahead to regain the time lost? Ajit, your point?
Oh yeah, I'm happy to say that we haven't even missed a single working day in HPC because before the starting of the lockdown, we implemented a business continuity plan. Like
you can keep your microphone close to your Ajit. You can keep your microphone close to your If you're using.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Oh yeah. Happy to say that we haven't even missed a single working day in HPC, Athletics HPC, because before the start of the lockdown, we implemented a business continuity plan. The entire team worked for that, and we ensured that everything has been moved inside the stadium, and we are following the protocol properly. So last 3 months, we are operational in full swing, and we haven't missed even a single session. In terms of other coaches, I think most of them are doing online coaching. This year, the most of the competition has been cancelled, and some of them have been scheduled towards the end of the year. So they will be start training now. Again, for us, we hadn't missed even a single session. Our management was very proactive in that, and it worked very well for us.
The challenges which an athlete would have to compete at the top level going through the COVID times.
As I said, most of the competition has been cancelled, but some of it top athletes in the camp has been struggling to get into training mode, and of course, next year is going to impact them because they were not able to do the off season properly. That'll be having impact on their next season. Some of them were they altered their training program, and the coaches were smart enough to implement the training program in a different way. So I think it will be interesting to see how they're going to perform this year. If it's going to be if it's going to work out well, it's going to be an innovation for them as well.
Super. Floris, you've been operational too in Odisha. I mean, I've been small part of your program. So would you like to say something?
No, it's different, a difficult situation, of course, for the boys and girls. Fortunately, in addition, the situation is that our girls are able to play now in Kalinga Stadium as they are in a bubble, isolated bubble, so they still can continue playing hockey, first with social distancing, and it's all arranged in a proper way so they continue playing hockey. But if you look at the grassroots programs in Jamshedpur, the academy, they're all closed. The boys are back home, and also in Odisha, of course, most of the regional part is picking up again, but it has been closed for some time. They do some physical work, but our boys, for instance, in Jamshedpur, they come from a rural background. They live in remote areas. They have hardly any connection. So they try to do some running, some physics and stuff, but it definitely throws them back in their development of hockey. And we will see in a couple of years, as said earlier, we will see if it really matters if you are out for 6 or 7 months. If they do not, then it is not a big deal. But in the end, I think they are out of the program for half a year, and hopefully we can start again, because it's not only the physical work, but also if you are out the system of hockey being or becoming a professional athlete, you end up working again for the family, especially in the rural areas. You end up in working in the I don't know, at the land or wherever. So you're out of the system. And the same in nutrition. If you are at an academy, as the academies in the hockey academies are, the food is decent. They have good diets and everything. So yeah, you become an athlete. And if they go back to the rural areas where they have malnutrition and everything, it will take a while to be back on the same level. And fortunately, in Odisha, we live in the Kalinga Stadium, and it's isolated, so we can play with the girls.
Superb. And I think these are very key points for any athlete. And my heart goes for the ones who are missing out on this time, because this 5-6 months is a very big time for an athlete. And as you rightly said, the lost ground is not just achieved like that when they come back, because it's great amount of hard work which is already gone into an athlete.
You have to start from scratch.
Yeah, so you just start from scratch. Absolutely, Kazem. I would love to take more comments on this, but because of the time paucity, again, I keep repeating, I think we need to move on. And Diksha, you may be having some real good questions. So let's crack them and then come to the close of the webinar, please.
Absolutely, we have been getting quite a few questions here. But before that, I think the girls from the academy, they have questions as well. So since we would like to go online there, I mean, take them live there, and
this is the NTHA, right? Naval Charter.
Of course. Okay. So we will go to the academy, and we have these girls ready to ask some questions. So we'll just connect them quickly.
I wish we can get one from Reliance and.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, 10 week is only Kazem.
Hello.
Yeah.
For us, it's a training time. I think most of the athletes are training right now.
Okay, wonderful. Diksha?
Yes.
Are they connected, or we can take the next one?
No, they are, I think. I can see them.
Okay.
I'm Kanukisan from Nagarpata Hockey Academy. मेरा अजीत सर से कुछ क्वेश्चन है.
किससे?
अजीत सर.
अजीत सर से. Okay. For you, Ajit. Okay.
अजीत सर, स्पीड इंप्रूव करने के लिए हमें क्या-क्या करना चाहिए?
To improve speed, what are the essentials, Ajit, for a hockey player?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. We can. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. What is the question? I mean, to improve the sport speed?
She's asked a very simple question that what does one do as a hockey player to improve upon speed? Because as Floris mentioned, the transition has happened. Hockey as a game has changed. Speed has come into play. Those kind of things. As an athlete, she's asking you from the athleticism point of view as to what are the things which one can do to improve upon the speed, which is the physical aspect.
Yeah, there are a lot of things you can do to improve your speed. Actually, the running form, you can improve your, you can work on your running form. You can work on other aspects of speed as well. It's like you can always come to our SPC and we can show what are the drills our athletes are doing, and you're always welcome. And we can work together to do speed. And that's basically having a different SPC in one single place, so we can actually work together to help each other.
Great. And particularly in hockey, again, it's a sprinting at short distance and very frequent. So obviously that sprinting techniques and the basics would be very important. Thank you, Ajit. We move over to the next question. Tanu, is that all? Or bhi kuch hai aapka? Ki, theek hai?
Weightlifting.
Weightlifting, we have had a session with my dear friend Kazem already at the academy. So strength is a very important factor. Yes.
When we move to the Kalinga Stadium, I'm going to help them.
Sure. We look forward to. Kisse?
Warley, sir.
Okay. From Rushdee. Okay. Boliye.
मैं वाले सर से पूछना चाहती हूँ कि रिकवरी के लिए हमें एफएटीपी में क्रायो करना चाहिए या स्विमिंग करना चाहिए?
Oh. So, Rushdee, you are put in a spot. For recovery, should we do swimming or we do cryo?
Swimming, of course.
So this is for you, Rushdee.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a place for both, and obviously, from a swimming point of view, I mean, Digpal can answer from a cryo point of view, but from a swimming point of view, the opportunity to do, impact. The same kind of movement in a different body, being water without impact certainly does help, and it's been used all over the world, many different sports. So yeah, I mean, the opportunity to do that and using a whole range of different muscles, as well as cardiovascular training from both a recovery point of view and a fitness point of view is obviously going to be beneficial. From a cryo point of view, I'll hand it over to Digpal.
Yeah, Digpal from you.
आपको दोनों चीजें करनी चाहिए और आपको पहला चीज ये देखना चाहिए कि आपको ये एज में यहाँ पर आपको ये सब फैसिलिटीज मिल रही है रिकवरी के लिए. काफी सारे एलीट फैसिलिटीज में भी क्रायो चेंबर नहीं है, स्विमिंग पूल नहीं है, तो आपको इसका सही तरीके से साइंटिफिकली आपको इसका यूटिलाइजेशन करना चाहिए. और अच्छी बात है कि NTHA और ABTP बहुत क्लोजली काम करते हैं, जहां आपके कोचेस, आपके स्पोर्ट्स साइंटिस्ट, फिजिकल थेरेपिस्ट के साथ हम साइंटिफिक प्रोग्राम बनाते हैं, जहां आपका रिकवरी सेशन प्लान्ड होता है. तो ये बहुत अच्छी बात है कि आपको ज्यादा टाइम समय वेस्ट नहीं करना होता रिकवरी पे. आप आते हो क्रायो चेंबर के अंदर 3 मिनट में आपकी रिकवरी हो जाती है और फिर आप अच्छे से जाके कोई दूसरा समय आप पढ़ने पे लगाते हो या आप जल्दी सो जाते हो. वो भी एक आपके लिए बेनिफिशियल है रिकवरी के लिए. ठीक है, लेकिन अगर आपके पास ऑप्शन है, क्योंकि क्रायो बहुत सारे एथलीट्स यूज करते हैं, आपको एटलीस्ट वीक में 2 बार मिलता है, तो दूसरे 2 दिन आप जाइए स्विमिंग पूल और स्विमिंग पूल को अच्छे से यूज करिए. ठीक है.
So just an extension of that, Digpal, in fact even Heath can, we moved on. I won't say we have moved on. There are people who are still working on ice bath, the facility at the rehab process, or rather the recovery process. How different is it one against another? I'm not putting one against another, but I'm just saying in terms of 2 different facilities and 2 different options available to an athlete. What are your views on that, Digpal?
So you see, first of all, if you talk about ice bath, it's a very tedious process. So if a national team right now, or I've seen, a lot of league teams in football, what they do is, because they cannot buy a cryo system, they get a big tank and they put water in it and they put ice in it. And then they ask their athletes to just dip in and come out. First of all, it's a tedious process. You cannot do it again and again. Second of all, you don't have the right temperature to have a positive physiological response. So most of the time, if you put a lot of ice, you can cause more trauma to your physiological response rather than making gains. But with the cryo chamber, the cryo chamber have been scientifically designed to go to a particular temperature which will have a positive physiological response to aid recovery. And second of all, the benefits are, okay, in ice bath, you don't know for how long you need to, sit there, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, tedious process. You don't know what the temperature will go up to. But in cryo chamber, it's clean, neat. Athletes can come in half an hour, almost 10 athletes can finish their recovery and they can go and utilize that time for something else, which is essential. So the whole idea of recovery is it should be quick, efficient, scientific, and, it should not be draining for the athlete.
Okay. Wonderful. Heath, any points from you?
Look, for me, it all boils down to application, right? There's no right and wrong answer. I've had extremely good results using a 44-gallon drum and 20 kilograms of ice in the bottom of it. We reduced the injury rate at the National Boxing Academy by 50% by just implementing that strategy twice a week after bouts. So ice, in certain aspects where electricity is an issue, reliability of power is an issue, funding is an issue, a bunch of things, ice is very, very good. And it can be very impractical, like Digpal has said in some cases, when you're trying to move a lot of elite level athletes through a program very quickly. I think ultimately at the end of the day, what we need to work towards is making sure that we have all the cards on the table at once, analyzing what is the best approach for a specific athlete or for a specific group of athletes. It's not one size fits all. And if we're going to go mass grassroots level, like we want to do, to be able to find the talent and build the athlete pathway in the state, we need to be able to have recovery programs that support those athletes. And that's where I think, having a swimming pool at every district is critical, because once you get athletes jogging up and down in water, even for 15 or 20 minutes, the hydrostatic effect of that pumping action on the body and the cold water temperature is hugely regenerative for athletes. So for me, I think we need to make sure that we don't say A or B, but we need to say there's a time for A and there's a time for B, and we need to be skilled enough to know when to use which one.
Correct. Diksha?
And maybe,
Yeah.
Maybe
somebody wanted to add something. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to add, because I just want to make sure that
Floris, your camera is up on the floor, on the.
I'm sorry. Yes. I was gone.
Okay.
Now, just quickly, I want to add that we are looking at details, the last details in preparation, in performing at medal level, and we always have to be sure on what level are we in the program. And sometimes I feel, and it's not only India, it's Holland and it's everywhere, we are working on details when the basics are not done yet. If you want to do the best recovery program at grassroots level, it's fine. But if you spend a bit more time on the basics of the game, of the basics of athletics, you improve more and more than just to have this final part, which is definitely needed at the elite center and the highest of the high performance centers. But we have to, and I just want to express it because I miss it a bit. In generally, we need more expertise or more training in the basics, in the basics of the sports, of swimming, the technique of swimming, the technique of weightlifting, the technique of hockey, the tactics. We have to gain, or we are gaining way more if we take a lot of time in that. And of course we need to focus on the details, but I just want to express that there's a lot to win in the basics of it.
I totally agree with you. Heath, you you want to say? You're raising your hand. Yes.
We need to invest in people.
Yes.
When we invest in people, we will get results.
Good. We move on, Diksha.
Yes.
And
I think
let's take some more questions from outside.
Absolutely. We have, in fact, I'll be a little partial. We had a question from the academy, the girls from the hostel, they asked.
Oh.
We have somebody from the Tata Steel as well. We have a question, so I want to take that as a first. This is by Mr. Soumitra Chatterjee. Very tricky and interesting question. Whether performance in sports is some way attached to genes, or is it resources and practice that makes a champion? And he wants it, Mr. Heath, to answer this.
Oh, right, man, you got it.
The cream always rises to the top. I will never, ever, ever take credit for an athlete's success. I am just a privileged part in their mechanism to get there. So genetics is extremely important in athletic success, but, and this is a huge but, without the people that are on this panel right now, protecting their athlete on their journey to success, there are many, many, many hurdles that can come in their way and prevent them from getting to where they should be able to get to. And that's our number one role, long-term athlete development. We are custodians of those athletes. Whether we're coaches or physios or trainers or whoever we are, it's our job to protect those athletes. And sometimes the hardest job is to give that athlete to the next person in line to help them to climb those steps to get to where they need to go to. And that's a very difficult thing to let go of your athlete.
Excellent, excellent. Right, we quickly move on.
It's not,
yes,
it's not your athlete. You're talking about your athlete because it's not your athlete, it's the athlete.
So you see, if you talk about, our founder, Mr. Abhinav Bindra, and, if you look at his quote, he says that, it's not every 4 years, it's every day. And he would have spoken in all different forums that, he believes in hard work, and hard work was his biggest tool to excellence. So he was not the most skilled athlete or genetically sound athlete to be a shooter. But for him, the biggest, tool was his hard work, perseverance, and persistence. So for an athlete, again, it depends on genetic components can be one factor which can give an advantage, but the athlete needs to be spotted and trained in the right manner. An athlete should also have the character and the desire to, make it fulfilling for him.
Wonderful. Super.
Yeah,
Diksha,
I totally agree.
Yes,
And
a couple of questions. I think, like Mr. Heath, just a few minutes back, he said you need to invest in people, and we have a question which is from Mr. Nikunj, which is from Mr. Rushdee and Mr. Floris both together. He wants to ask this too: that the quality of human resource working at HPCs is of profound importance, since there's a dearth of specialized professionals in our country. What are the initiatives being taken by your respective organization to develop the human resource to meet the future demands of this specialized field of the country? So it's for Mr. Floris and Mr. Rushdee. So since we just heard that on investing in people, this is a question I thought we must take as well.
Rushdee?
Okay, so I mean, from our side, and a bit wider than Odisha, I think, one of the key elements of what we do at JSW and particularly at the Institute is invest in the people that we have. We've got a staff from all over the world as well as from India. And, it's constantly about providing them with opportunities to upskill themselves, to look at how it is that we also look at providing opportunities for internships within our existing environment, so that we can spread, we can have a transfer of knowledge. We're also looking at tying up. We do have tie-ups with some international organizations, one of them being the Australian Strength and Conditioning Association, where we have ongoing courses at the facility that is run by us. We're also just tied up with another international university that again will be providing tertiary education level opportunities for students in India to to further their knowledge and to further their experience. Those are just some of the things that we do, and particularly from a swimming point of view in Odisha, There's been ongoing discussions as to how we upskill our coaches, particularly around the grassroots levels. One of the things that has been mentioned over and over again would be around development of good technique. And I think in a sport that is technique driven, especially in an early engagement versus early specialization concept, where athletes need to be engaged early, just teaching them the proper skills. And it doesn't need to be 7-8 times a week. It needs to be 2 or 3 times a week for them to enjoy the sport. That is an ongoing discussion as to how between ourselves and the state government, we partner together at a grassroots level to, to promote those skills, to deliver those services, to deliver those education programs in swimming in Odisha state.
Super.
Yeah.
Floris, a quick one.
Yeah, quick one. Same here, of course. It's key that we train coaches, we coach coaches, and develop the system in India as well. And also here, I just can add, like it is for the athletes as well. It's a long-term structure. You need long-term. The experience of modern hockey here in Holland is for 30, 40 years now in grassroots level and in artificial pitches level, and it's not, you cannot just teach them the new coaches in 1 or 2 or 3 weeks or years. It will take time. It will take time to develop, and we're just giving a lot of coaches courses for the coaches to get into the system and try to get them on board for the grassroots. Totally agree, to engage the young boys and girls to play hockey or to do sports, and then up to the high performance center, we guide the Indian coaches, and actually we're looking for Indian coaches, of course, to take over the work we are doing, because in the end it should be driven by Indian coaches as well. Of course, we'll always be happy to guide them and help them, but in the end it would be lovely to have good Indian coaches running all the academies in India.
Excellent. I think that's absolutely the bottom line, and that should be the objective of all the HPCs, operating in the country, and Odisha obviously taking the lead, because it's our own coaches who needs that little push and that little effort in terms of upgradation, and they're brilliant coaches. We all have to work together, combined, and then make the difference, because it's actually, end of the day, it's the objective of the institution as well as the state. So we need to make that together. So wonderful words. Yes.
Can I just add, because it's very important, and I think we have missed it, like the national sports bodies.
Yes.
The Hockey India is doing a good job at the moment, developing all these coaches, and it has to be hand in hand with the local and the state and national hockey bodies, that there's just a good program for coaches, and sometimes that's lacking. Luckily in hockey, they picked up a couple of years also the grassroots program, so we will see the benefit, or we will see the result in a couple of years, but it's definitely, we all have to work on the relationship with the hockey or the national sport bodies to make sure that it's important to get good coaches.
Correct. Diksha, just a quick one, last one.
Yeah, just a quick last one. I think a couple of questions have already been answered in the discussion, centered around grassroots development in sports science and medicine. I think those have already been answered, in the discussion. But there's one question that, that's also of importance to me in particular, considering that I come from a center of excellence in sports management. There's a question being posed by somebody who's wanting to know, how can students pursuing sports management or say sports medicine, sports technology, get a chance to do internship in your centers and your organizations? How do they go about it? So I think that's relevant to us as well at XCBS Ahluwalia Center of Excellence Sports Management. So I would request a couple of our panelists here to, if they can.
Maybe Digpal can start. Digpal.
Yeah.
Whoever asked this question, first of all, this is the right time for sports and sports education and professionals in India, because next 10 years is the golden time for the Indian sport. There's a lot of development, there's a lot of understanding, and there is a big demand for trained experts. And that's where a lot of universities, institutes are trying to come up with quality education structures, which will help students just not, on the basis of the curriculum, but also give them a hands-on experience. There are a lot of institutes who have done tie-up with us, where the students get the exposure to get their internship with us, understand what goes into testing of an athlete, training programs. And that's where, keeping that in mind, we have also come up with that institute which I have mentioned, which is going to be, again, a premium institute to implement and impart education.
Superb, superb. Heath, any comments from you?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities coming up. Abhinav, Tata's, Reliance, we're all rapidly building out our education platforms, IIS as well. Everybody's really investing in our people. The people need to invest in themselves. And what I mean by that is, don't stand there with your hands out like this, waiting for us to come to you. You need to be actively looking for every avenue that you can, online, in textbooks, tapping your network of professionals around them, picking their brains all the time, right? All the lessons, my biggest lessons that I've learned in my career are through failure. So you need to get out there. You need to invest in yourself by giving your services free of charge to as many places as you can. Work with young athletes at a grassroots level. Really make loads and loads of mistakes. Don't be scared to make mistakes, and learn from those mistakes that you don't make them a second time around. And then eventually what you will land up doing is creating a valuable product of yourself, and that people will want you, and they will say, hey, come in here, let me work with you more. I can see that you've got great potential. I like the way that you're thinking. So let's spend time investing in ourselves, and I guarantee you that all the big companies on this platform right now will invest in you in the long term.
I think
spend money on yourself.
Yeah, yes. And Heath, what you just said, I would just add one line there, the last part, that it's so I mean, it's a pleasure to note that there are so many young minds who've got experience. Once they've done their college, they've done the sports management, they still want to come and do the interns at such entities and institutions, because they want the hands-on knowledge and they want the experience. And as Heath also said, that they need to come out of their shell and they need to explore more and more. And once they come in, then the pull will happen automatically, because their prowess will be seen by all, and they would have also had a job satisfaction by then. And the whole system would work very well. And I'm so pleased to see some of these young minds coming forward and wanting to do an intern, in spite of having a very good experience of 5-7 years in the sports industry. So that shows the mindset of these youth who have already invested in sports management. So wonderful.
And be ready to work very, very, very hard. If you cannot sacrifice to the level that your athletes sacrifice, you cannot expect them to do things. You must work your backside off. Correct. Exactly like Digpal said, not tomorrow, not when it comes to the Olympics, every single day, morning till night.
Correct. Diksha?
Yes. I think there were a couple of other questions as well, but I guess we've already answered that.
Okay, so then before
yes.
I hand it over to you, Diksha, for the vote of thanks and to close the webinar, let me take the opportunity on behalf of Naval Tata Hockey Academy Odisha, which is obviously a joint venture between Department of Sports and Youth Services, Government of Odisha, and Tata Steel and Tata Trust through the Hockey Ace Foundation. To have the presence of all these elite panelists and my lovely friends. I happen to know them, and that's a very big bonus to me, to know them and to learn from them every time I interact with them. Floris is somebody I'm working very closely, so Floris is like a mentor. So I thank each one of you for sparing your valuable time. Sorry we have overshot by some time, but I think the discussion has been fascinating, and I'm sure everybody must have enjoyed taking a leaf out of what has been discussed. And sky is the limit, as I keep saying, because these are the sporting times. We can't let go these times easily. We have to invest in this. And with the government now coming, all hog, both at the center as well as the state levels, I think this is it, that we need to now crack it. I mean, if we can't do it now, then I'm sorry to say that we will never be able to. So on these words, I would say thank you very much, each one of you, for sparing your time and bearing with me. Over to you, Diksha.
I think, Rajiv, you've already concluded what I had to say. I mean, we've had a fantastic discussion, and very important at a time when the sports industry is actually growing very rapidly, presenting opportunities to all stakeholders of the sports ecosystem, and with the kind of interest that's coming from the government and the private sector at this point, I think that's going to strengthen the image of sports in the days to come. Odisha, of course, is a shining example, marching ahead with an approach where, they're developing infrastructure, identifying talent, grooming and training, and empowering athletes with world standard training with these HPCs. And I think, like Heath had said in the beginning, and which was, of course, seconded by everyone, that once these high performance centers, where all stakeholders, be it the athletes, the government, the corporates, the sports associations and federations, they're on the same page, with the focus remaining also on grassroots development programs, I think sky is the limit. I think that's what I would like to say as a conclusion. And thank you once again to our wonderful, all our wonderful panelists, and everybody who's been watching this live on YouTube or Facebook and who joined this webinar live. Thank you so very much for supporting us and coming up with these questions. We really want to thank you, because that's encouraging, I think, the Academy also to come up with more and more webinars in the days to come. And that's all from me. Thank you so much. Thank you to all our panelists.
Thank you. Namaskar and
Thank you.
Bye.